Hello, hello, hello. This is Goddess Raven, and this is Sipping It Up with Goddess Raven. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button and click that notification bell. Let's get into this, okay? Few drugs have a more controversial history than Depo Provera. In the 1950s, a scientist for the pharmaceutical company Upjohn was experimenting with the hormone, and he created the Depo Provera. By 1960, the company received FDA approval for the drug as a treatment for habitual miscarriages. However, 10 years later, the FDA revoked this approval because there was no evidence that the drug worked. Instead, it seemed to cause heart defects in babies. But while the drug was being tested on women in Brazil, researchers discovered that it was also able to prevent pregnancy. As a result of this finding, Upjohn decided to seek approval for the drug as a contraceptive. Studies began on rats, and the results looked promising. The FDA granted the investigative drug status. This means that it appears safe based upon previous animal studies, and so research could continue on other animals and humans. Despite the fact that the drug was still in early testing phase, doctors from Jamaica to Los Angeles were already prescribing it to women as the newest contraceptive. By 1965, the drug was being tested on women in foreign countries. A few years later, studies began on dogs, monkeys, and over 10,000 women in Atlanta, a disproportionate number of whom were poor and black. The dogs developed breast cancer and the monkeys developed cancer. But as the women in Atlanta, no annual report were given to the FDA as required. After 11 years, investigators went to assess the situation based on something funny going on. What they discovered was that the women were not given adequate information about the side effects. Consent forms were absent, and women with medical conditions were given the shot despite the fact that the drug could endanger their lives and their health. Some women died of cancer and others committed suicide. Depression is now a well known side effect of Depo Provera. Researchers lost track of most of the women in the study, and the research was disregarded. Doesn't it remind you of like kind of what they did with the Tuskegee experiment, where they gave the black soldiers, syphilis with no treatment and let them go back to their wives and girlfriends, not knowing what they had or how it could affect their brains. Years later, researchers studied more women from the same Atlanta area. However, this time they followed up with the women. Again, most of the women were poor and black. The scientists showed that about half of the women quit taking the shot after a year. Their main reason was that they were displeased with the side effects. Nonetheless, the summary of this research was entitled Depo Provera, an excellent contraceptive for those who continue to use it. Today, African American women continue to be primary targets of those who promote Depo Provera, and they are twice as likely to use the drug as white women. Likewise, the poorer a woman is, the more likely she will be prescribed Depo Provera. Because Depo Provera was found to cause cancer in beagles, veterinarians stopped giving it to dogs, and the animal version of the drug, Promone, was taken off the market. Testing continued on women. However, a member of the FDA Bureau of Drugs testified animal data for this drug is more worrisome than any other drug we know of that is being given to people. Please let that sink in. That a member of the FDA Bureau of Drugs testified animal data for this drug is more worrisome than any other drug we know of that is being given to humans, people. Unfazed, unbothered, the pharmaceutical company pushed the drug overseas. According to makers of the drug, they paid government officials, hospital employees, and others more than $4 million in the early 1970s in order to secure sales of Depo Provera internationally. Despite urgings from those in favor of the shot, the FDA denied approval of Depo Provera at least 3 times. Not one, but 3 times, because of the safety concerns for both mother and child. Meanwhile, the drug was being used on millions of women in over 90 countries, such as Nigeria, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Thailand, India, and other developing nations. Reports of liver cancer, decreased bone mass, and children born with extra or missing fingers didn't help upjohn prospects of legalizing the drug in America. Do you understand these side effects? Children born with extra or missing fingers, liver cancer, decreased bone mass. However, in 1991, the World Health Organization published the most comprehensive research of the time, reporting no increased risk of cancer of the liver, ovaries, or cervix. It even demonstrated a protective effect against cancer. However, breast cancer risk was doubled in the first 5 years of use. With this new research, Upjohn again asked the FDA to approve the drug in 1992. Numerous groups protested, including the National Women Health Network, the National Black Women Health Project, and the National Latina Health Organization. Despite their objectives, the FDA approved the drug in October 1992. At the time, the acting president of Planned Parenthood was ecstatic, calling the approval a very exciting development that is long overdue. Is Planned Parenthood on minority and community side? Because they were calling this, was ecstatic, calling the approval a very exciting development that is long overdue. Many women did not share this is a man, of course, his enthusiasm. Since the approval in 1992, many women groups have united to request the FDA impose some kind of things on the shot. While many women do not experience serious side effects from Depo, other women have gone off the drug, saying this hideous poison should never have made it out of the fucking lab. Even after the FDA approval of the drug, many countries were still hesitant to license it. In 1991, Canadian Women's Group and various health associations petitioned their government to keep the drug out of their country. They wrote, "We urge the government to stand by the decision of 1988 and to remain committed to protecting the health and safety of Canadian women." Aware of the side effects of Depo Provera, advocates of the women's health were especially concerned about the fact that the shot was currently being prescribed to teenagers, the physically and mentally disabled, and immigrants, natives, and Inuit women without their informed consent. Unfortunately, these protests were not heeded, and the drug was approved for use in Canada in 1997. But by 2005, women seeking compensation for their suffering brought a class action lawsuit of $700 million against the maker of the drug. Some of them suffered earlier osteoporosis and bone fractures, needed knee replacements, and complained that they were never warned about the drug's ability to thin a woman's bones. One of the attorneys involved in the lawsuit mentioned that he was defending a woman who was in her 20s, who may soon need a hip replacement. Nowadays, Depo Provera is made by the pharmaceutical company Pfizer, the same company that is making vaccines for C-19. That name might ring a bell. Pfizer is also being sued because of the heart attacks, the deaths, and the birth defects attributed to other drugs they manufacture, such as Zoloft and Celebrex. Objections to the Depo Provera span the globe. Women's group in India requested a complete ban on the shot, which had been approved for marketing in their country before the necessary safety trials had even been completed. They wrote, in a country where a large percentage of women in the reproductive age suffer from anemia, irregular and heavy bleeding can be catastrophic consequences. Studies have shown that injectable contraceptives like Depo Provera can also lead to osteoporosis. This can have grave consequences for poor women with low bone density due to poor nutritional status already. The evidence available is already damning, and it would be unethical to subject more women to clinical trials with this contraceptive. According to India Economic and Political Weekly, one reason the FDA approved Depo Provera was that the U.S. was concerned with population control in third world countries. Please, I want you to let this all sit in and let this all sit in into your head of what I'm trying to say to you and what this evidence is saying. The U.S. wants to control the population of other countries. So it's saying in this report, the U.S. was concerned with population control in third world countries, whose governments were hesitant to approve a drug that was not even licensed in the country that created it. Thankfully, the women's group in India won their victory. India won a victory for women's health in 2002 when the Indian government canceled its plan to introduce Depo Provera through the government's health system. In September 2004, the makers of Depo Provera received more bad news about their drug. It increases a woman's risk of contracting certain STDs. Now, remember, if you remember watching the news at one point back in the day, that AIDS, HIV, was spreading like hotcake. It was spreading like wildfire, like the fire's burning in California right now. It was spreading so quickly. HIV was spreading so quickly. And this kind of correlates with Depo Provera. Why? Because the same around time that this Depo Provera was being used and given to these people in these third world countries, HIV eventually started to become, it was like an epidemic at one point. Every time you turned around, people were catching HIV or dying of HIV. There was no medications and everything. It was so horrible. And we're like, what the hell's going on? Why are so many people in Africa? Why are so many people in this country? Why are so many people over here getting HIV? And the reason could be that they were given Depo Provera and not knowing the risks and warnings. Deep, isn't it? Well, let's continue going down the rabbit hole and read some more. Okay? So in 2004, the makers of Depo Provera received more bad news about their drug. It increased a woman's risk of contracting certain STDs. According to the journal Sexual Transmitted Diseases, when a woman takes the shot, she triples her chances of being infected with gonorrhea and chlamydia, which can cause sterilization of a woman. The scientists speculated that the increased disease risk might be caused by the drug's interference with the woman's immune system. So this also affects your immune system, or by its ability to assist the growth of infections. It also has been linked with HIV too, problems. Regardless of how it makes a woman more susceptible to a disease, the discovery is troubling. For example, when the drug is used in certain population control programs, listen to what this says. For example, when this drug is used in certain population control programs, there's control programs out there. Many women do not have access to modern healthcare services. Interestingly, the study that discovered this STD link was funded in part by the U.S. Agency for International Development, who provided over 40 million units of Depo Provera to developing nations, especially in Africa. So now, when you turn on the TV, you see, this was a few years back, that HIV was actually exploding. It was like spreading, like every time you turned around, it was nothing but people in Africa and these countries contracting HIV, getting AIDS, contracting HIV, and nobody could figure out why this was the cause. And now, here is the cause. This is just unbelievable. Undoubtedly, the women who used it were unaware of the Depo Provera STD connection, and were probably also ignorant of the fact that the infection with gonorrhea and chlamydia makes a woman up to 5 times as likely to contract HIV if exposed. Disappointingly, the makers of the shot denied any STD connection, stating on their website there is no proof from clinical studies that show Depo Provera increases your risk of acquiring a sexually transmitted disease. Unfortunately, as of 2008, Pfizer still has not corrected its website, despite the fact that contrary research was published in 2004. Of course they're not. 2 months after the STD connection was discovered, Deborah Rivera received more bad news. So they received more bad press also when the FDA slapped a black box warning on the label. According to the FDA, a black box warning is the most serious warning placed in the labeling of a prescription medication. Do you understand that? In the case of the shot, it was required because the medicine can cause irreversible bone loss in women, which can lead to osteoporosis. The researchers who discovered this noticed the effects in girls as young as 12 years old. This is especially problematic for young women because the teenage years are the critical time for bone development. So by putting these kids, these minorities and poor, on these drugs at 12 years old, by the time they're 18, they're in so much pain, some of them might not even be able to walk. The researchers who discovered this noticed that after years of receiving birth control injections as a teen, a girl in her early 20s could have the bones of a 50 to 60-year-old woman. Like I said, have trouble walking. However, the same year that the shot received the black box warning, the maker of the drug raked in $200 million in revenue from it. Because of concerns of bone loss, Pfizer and the FDA now say that the shot could never be used for more. Listen, Pfizer and the FDA are telling you this. This isn't bullshit. This is fact. Pfizer and the FDA now say that the shot should never be used for longer than 2 years unless a woman has no other option. So people who say they're on it for 9 years and 10 years and 5 years, y'all were never supposed to be on it that long. And your doctors didn't tell you nothing. In regards to side effects, the above information is only the beginning. According to the makers of the shot, here are some of the other potential side effects of the drug. Young women who have taken the shot in the last 4 years are more than twice as likely to develop breast cancer. Children born to women of Depo Provera are more likely to have webbed toes and fingers and chromosomal anomalies. The boys are twice as likely to have genetical deformities, and the baby girls are more likely to suffer masculinized effects of the drug's chemicals, causing genital abnormalities. Babies conceived to women of Depo may be at an increased risk of low birth weight, which is associated with an increased risk of neonatal death. Research not done by the makers of the shot reports that infants exposed to the shot while in their mother's womb were 80% more likely to die in the first year of their life. Deborah Rivera can pass through a mother's breast milk to her child. Most studies do not show adverse effect on the baby. However, one study of women who took the shot 2 days after the delivery of their baby showed it was had a substantial consequence. The babies in this group had a 75% higher incident of infectious diseases, visits to the doctor in their first year of life. Women on Depo Provera tend to experience weight gain according to how long they have been on the drug. 5 pounds in the first year, 8 pounds in the second, 14 by the fourth, and over 16 pounds by the 6th year. Many women on the shot stop having periods after 1 year of use. However, when a woman goes off the shot, the menstrual period will usually in time return to its normal cycle. Many women who take the shot will be able to become pregnant soon after stopping the injections. Sometimes there is a delay in return of fertility. For example, about half are unable to conceive within 10 months of their last injection. 17% were unable to get pregnant after 15 months of the shot, and 7% were still not able to conceive after 18 months. Other side effects include menstrual irregularities, abdominal pain, dizziness, headaches, fatigue, nervousness, back pain, breast pain, leg cramps, depression, bloating, nausea, rash, insomnia, aches, joint pains, convulsions, numbness, coughing up blood, severe allergy reaction, spontaneous flow of breast milk, darkening of the facial skin, urinary infections, cysts, chest pains, anemia, artery blockage in the lungs, loss of consciousness related to temporary insufficient blood flow to the brain, shortness of breath, fever, excessive sweating and body odor, dry skin, excessive thirst, blood disease, rectal bleeding, nipple bleeding, prevention of lactation, paralysis, facial nerve damage, skin disease, excessive some urina growth, varicose veins, painful cramps, no hair growth, excessive hair growth in unusual and places, and blood clots. It also causes brain tumors, possible swelling of the brain. Depo Provera is well known for decreasing a woman's sex drive because of its ability to kill a person's libido. The shot is sometimes injected into child molesters as a punishment. In California, the state Senate ruled that the parolee shall begin taking Depo Provera treatment 1 week prior to his or her release from confinement in the state prison or institution, and shall continue treatment until the Department of Correction demonstrates to the Board of Prisons terms that this treatment is no longer necessary. So the drug that is too dangerous for dogs but just right for sex offenders is offered to women at their local Planned Parenthood clinic. Is Planned Parenthood for us? Or are they keeping our population down? Why would doctors allow their patients to ingest such chemicals? In September 2009, newspapers across the country announced that the government was fining Pfizer Pharmaceuticals a record $2.3 billion for illegal drug promotions. In the drug industry, companies hired pharmaceutical sales representatives to pitch their products to doctors. Normally, the business meeting takes place in the doctor's offices. However, Pfizer reps have been caught whining and dining doctors. In the words of one ex-Pfizer employee, you got large bonuses if you got these large practices to switch to your drugs. In an effort to butter up doctors to buy their Depo Provera drugs, Pfizer sales reps were caught paying for doctors to receive free golf, massages, and resort packets. Thankfully, the government caught Pfizer in the act for the 4th time in the past decade and will now be monitoring their marketing strategies. So here's some little Q&As. That you should know about. Are there Depo Provera side effects? Yes. Depo Provera contains a powerful hormone which has been linked to serious side effects, including long-term bone loss. According to a study, the GYN, 45% of women who received Depo Provera shots lost 5% or more bone density in their hips or lower spine. Researchers say the bone loss was a significant amount and concern because recovering bone mass can take a long time, and the hip is the most common site for fractures in women later on in life. Do studies indicate increased Depo Provera risk for some women versus others? Yes. Because the Depo shot has been shown to increase the loss of bone density in women of all ages, teens and young adults, women who are in critical stages of natural bone growth could be at greater risk. Some studies, however, claim that the bone loss may be reversible in younger women, while other studies show that the bone loss is permanent. According to a lead study author, Dr. Abbey, women who smoke or do not get enough calcium in their diet are at the greatest risk. So Dr. Abbey advised patients who take Depo shot to not smoke and take your calcium every day. She also says that if I have a patient that's smoking, I'm going to be more concerned about giving them Depo Provera. More than 2 million American women use Depo, including 400,000 teenagers. If I take Depo Provera, should I get a bone material density test? Health professionals recommend that you take a bone density test if you're taking Depo Provera. An attorney will advise that a bone test to help determine whether you have a claim against manufacturers. Also, a bone test can identify osteoporosis, low bone density, and other osteo-related diseases. It can determine your risk factors for fractures, broken bones, and measure your response to osteoporosis treatment. The most widely recognized BMD test is called the Dual Energy X-ray test, a painless procedure similar to an X-ray. The test can measure bone density at your hip and spine. Are there other Depo Provera side effects that should concern me? Yes, if you are 35 years old or younger and began receiving Depo Provera in the last 4 to 5 years, you may have a slightly increased risk that you will develop breast cancer. Depo Provera may also increase the chance that you will develop a blood clot that moves to your lung or brain. Besides excessive gain, you also could experience hair loss, headaches, muscle stiffness, severe joint pain. Depo Provera side effects can also include menstrual irregularities, such as bleeding and spotting. Spotty darkening of the skin, usually around the face, which may become permanent. Pregnancy-like symptoms, including sore breast, nausea, fatigue, and abdominal discomfort. Has there been a Depo Provera FDA warning about any Depo shot risk? Yeah, in November 2004, the FDA announced the black box warning label, which is the highest label that they could put on a box for a warning. I've been taking Depo Provera for past year. Is there anything I could do to prevent bone density loss? Besides not taking Depo shot, you should eat plenty of foods that are rich in calcium, vitamin D, in order to help decrease the loss of calcium in your bones, and don't smoke. Are there ongoing Depo Provera lawsuits? Yes, due to the concerns that the drug causes massive and particularly irreversible bone loss in women. A number of Depo Provera lawsuits in the U.S. and there's 3 lawsuits going on in Canada have been filed. According to records, Bergen County May 11th, 2009, New Jersey has a mass tort case involving Depo Provera. Mass tort claims involve a large number of lawsuits, often based on alleged injuries from a single product. They are managed centrally because they involve similar information or whatever. In 2010, Pfizer settled several Deborah Rivera class action suits in the U.S., and individual claims against the company are ongoing. So this has not stopped, and even in 2020, it's still going. Canadian Deborah Rivera lawsuits in September 2005, a motion for authorization to institute a class action was filed with the Supreme Court of Quebec on behalf of all persons resident in Canada having used Depo Provera. In 2005, in December, a $700 million class action lawsuit was filed against Pfizer in Toronto. The lawsuit claims that the long-term users of Depo Provera have been diagnosed with serious bone issue problems, including not limited to osteoporosis, fractures, brittle teeth, spine injuries, and hip injuries. The Depo lawsuit also alleged that Pfizer failed to forewarn doctors and patients of the serious bone density risks associated with long-term use of the drug, and have originally promoted the injection as a safe contraceptive method for long-term use. So there's still current lawsuits going on behind this drug. And there's seriously there's something more damaging information about this, like how they went into communities and gave this drug to people. See, this started from the 1967s, when Upjohn Pharmaceutical began an extensive 11-year trial of Depo in Atlanta Grady Clinic in an attempt to get the drug approved. It's crazy because you know what? So many people were against this drug being released to people, and I don't understand how it made it onto the market. So international giant, and I just don't get it. And the fact that so many other companies are involved with this. So eventually in 1992, the FDA approved the birth control shot Depo Provera injections for use in the United States over the objection to pro-life groups and even several pro-abortion women's organizations. But the thing that I want you to point out, what does the Gates have to do with this? Why is Bill Gates involved in this? It's just a lot. It's just a lot. A study by the Gates Foundation in 2012 found that Depo Provera was likely to more than double HIV rates among African women. All of these things that they knew, and they just let this. I can't, it blows my mind that they let this drug get on the market. So here are some instances of how population control advocates abuse poor women with Depo worldwide. When my wife Kathy and I were in Uganda a year ago, we frequently saw reproductive health units, pickup trucks zooming through the countryside. These trucks usually consist of 2 or 3 men with little or no medical training who are given a few hours of instructions, a box of Depo shots, and other types of birth control, and orders to go out into the country and get as many women as they can on this birth control under a quota and reward system. We spoke with several groups of women who were victimized by these teams. Some of whom said that they were injected with the Depo but thought it was anti-malaria shots. In January 2013, the Israelite Health Ministry discontinued a program targeting Ethiopian Jews in the country without informed consent. White owners of a commercial farm in Zimbabwe forced their black female workers to accept Depo shots, and as a result, the drug was banned in 1981 over there. In 2002, after widespread abuse, the Indian government ceased distribution of both Neuroplan and Depo. There is also no doubt that Depo is used disproportionately against the fertility of poor black women in the U.S. Such efforts to target poor women have been ramped up significantly by Melinda Gates' 2012 Family Planning Summit with the cooperation of the International Planned Parenthood Federation, the United States Agency for International Development, the United Nations, and of course Pfizer, which stands to make billions of dollars of profit annually from the sales and distribution of various types of Depo Provera. The conclusion is common ground between hard-care pro-abortion and pro-life groups is almost non-existent. However, almost all of us agree that birth control such shots like Depo Provera poses an unacceptable health risk to women, especially those who are poor. We also agree that Depo is being used to target poor minority women in the United States and developing nations. It's time to speak the truth about Depo. Y'all, I want y'all to comment below and tell me what y'all think. What do you think after everything that I've told you? I mean, because I know there's a woman there was a woman that was sued because her young daughter was on it since she was a young child. And all of a sudden, one day she wasn't coherent or something. She thought that the mother thought that her teenager had like allergies or something like that. So she just told her to go to sleep. When the father checked in on the daughter, they had to call the ambulance because the child had died. Something about swelling on the brain. Possible tumors. Y'all just comment below and tell me what y'all think. You know, to the ones who have been on the drug for years and how many years, if you have no side effects, congratulations to you. But always make sure you have a good team of doctors that are checking everything on you to make sure everything's all right. And to the ones that are exhibiting side effects, try and get the best doctors that you can that will work with you and help get your health back. Please share this. Please share this. Please share this. Please share this. And comment below and tell me what you think, okay? All right, bye.